Can I see their faces?
Recording in progress.
Okay guys, so good afternoon. My name is Kishan. So welcome you to a current affairs session on international relations and organizations. Is everyone fine? Am I audible? Just a minute guys, I'm just attending to the chat boxes in Zoom. Let me keep it here, be comfortable. Okay, so shall we start? Is everything fine? Okay then, fine. We are at the last phases of our preparation. Okay, the exam is scheduled in another 40 to 45 days. Fine. So this current affairs session, I'll just give you a brief on how it has been designed. Okay, so this current affairs session, the session has a framework, and the content are prepared in such a way that it covers both dynamic topics as well as fundamental topics which are relevant to all the examinations, that is to all phases of the examinations. Okay, and with respect to international relations and organizations, it is one of the easiest topics, subjects, provided you do a bit of your homework with respect to memorizing few things and then applying the logics perfectly to arrive at the right answer. Why? Because in IRC we cannot predict anything like this would be questioned or the questions would be framed from this part of the subject. No, it is not like that. It is purely dynamic, but apart from that, few static knowledge will definitely help you to arrive at the final answers. Okay, so I'll be shifting from here and there because I need to attend to the chat boxes also. So forgive me if I do not appear in the screen. Fine. So let us proceed. And to the people in Zoom call, if you have any doubt, please mention it in the chat boxes. So it will be convenient for us to address it then and there. Fine. So it is a two-day session, today and tomorrow. Today will be the part 1, and it depends upon how fast we proceed with the topics. Fine. So this is the session framework. Is the video clear? Okay. Now, am I audible? Fine. Okay. Okay. Audio is fine. Fine. So this is the framework of our session. First, we'll begin with the format of the questions. Okay. UPSC has been following a particular format. Okay. In framing the questions. So we'll just try to look at the format of the questions being asked in previous years. And next would be the question solving techniques, specifically with the aspects of our subject, that is international relations and organizations. And next would be analysis of previous year questions. I believe this would be most useful. Why? Because in analysis part, we are not only going to just see the questions, but we are going to try to solve the question with basic logics. And an assumption there is that we'll assume that we don't know anything about that particular question, and we'll try to address the question in that manner. So that would be the analysis, and next would be the preparation tips specific to international relations, what has to be done. That will be one part of the session. And the fifth part would be the current affairs briefing. That is, it will be a briefing of what all happened, what are topics to be covered and more relevant to the prelims of 2021. Next would be a small facts and few shortcuts. Few shortcuts is that in trying to help you remember the members of the organization. So that will be covered in the last. And also, mostly there will be an expectation of telling few important topics, but I don't think so any importance or will be useful for our type of examination. Rather, try to have a shallow knowledge about everything. Okay, because your UPSC examination is not about reading overnight and then cracking the examination. It is not so. It is purely based on using your general knowledge and being practical and calm at that moment. Okay, why? Because where aspirants lose is that they don't lose because of lack of knowledge or lack of content. No, it is not in that manner. People lose, or people do not qualify for prelims examination is because of they tend to get scared. They lose their calmness, as a result of which their knowledge or their content, what they have in their mind, doesn't work there. It doesn't help them. Okay. So instead of asking for important topics, we'll just have a run through of all the things that had happened in the past 1 year to 15 months, 12 to 15 months. Okay, we'll just have a run through, and in that, whatever is there for to memorize, please memorize it. Okay, it is your own smartness of how well you make things simple. So try to memorize those parts alone, and remaining, try to remember it logically. Okay. So that only these two techniques will help us to go through the subject. So having put the disclaimer well ahead, please don't ask me for any important topics. Okay, it is completely useless for our type of examination. Till now, is everything fine? Okay, okay, fine. Welcome, Tenmodi. It is also my pleasure to take the class. Thank you so much. Fine. Next is question format. So the first question, see, the first type of question is nuclear related. See, the entire world is witnessing the development of nuclear weapons, and each and every nation wants to secure itself, its territories, its sovereignty, as a result of which mass weapons of destruction are being created, not in an open manner, but in a clandestine manner. Okay. So nuclear related questions are appearing frequently. Say for example, there are questions on international and Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, and nuclear weapon conventions. All this are frequently in news. So nuclear related is one topic that we can expect a question. Okay. So this is the question. Of course, these questions will analyze in the later part. So I'm just giving you the types of questions. So first is nuclear related. Fine. In 2018, we had a question on nuclear suppliers group. Next, again in 2018, we had a question on International Atomic Energy Agency. And 19, again there was a the question on agreement signed between two countries regarding the nuclear field. So this is what with respect to nuclear related questions of 2018 and 19. 20 questions are also there, but I haven't included in this part, but I have included in the previous year questions. So you won't find it here. Next would be reports. Again, reports are one area where most aspirants are neglecting. Why? Because they tend to find it, they find it very easier, and hence don't concentrate too much on these reports. But UPSC also has come to that stage where they are very clever and very clear that aspirants are would have gone through all the expected reports. So they are going in search of unexpected reports, reports which you wouldn't have found in any of your current affairs compilations. Okay, and also they tend to make changes, or they tend to give a confusing report such that a candidate goes wrong for sure. Okay. Say for example, one thing I could remember here is there is World Economic Outlook, Global Economic Prospects. Okay. So we know that if the options are World Bank and IMF, there will definitely be a confusion unless and until we know it for sure. Why? Because Global Economic Prospects is by World Bank, whereas World Economic Outlook is by IMF. Okay. So there are a lot of such confusing things in our subject which has to be noted down very precisely, because that is the homework which I expect from your side. So do focus on such topics, because such confusing things will only pull you down at the examination hall. So if you are clear with this, then you can easily crack the examination. The difference between a senior aspirant and an aspirant who appears for the first time is only these minute changes. So of course, whoever attends this session, I do not want you guys to prepare for prelims again next year. Okay, so this should be our first and last attempt, and we should clear and go back to the other phases of the examination. Hence, focus on such trivial matters so that you don't lose it big in the exam hall. So coming back, the reports for 2018, it is rule of law index, okay, and again and one more thing, 2018 to be telling, I mean, about this index is that this was the first time such an index came in the question paper. Okay, no one expected, unless and until they expected from a known organizations. Okay, UN related organizations, World Bank, IMF, the aspirants expected only questions on those lines. But this was a complete unexpected question, which led many people losing their marks here. So in 2018 there was a rule of law index. In 2019 again an easy one, ease of doing business. Then third part would be UN related. Again, this area is very crucial. Why? Because the recent organizations in news like Human Rights Council or Commission for Refugees or UN Development Program, UNDP, UNEP, all these are frequently in news. We could be able to recollect the content and we can answer the questions. And also ILO, these are frequently in news. So these are one subset of questions under this UN related. Whereas, see this one, United Nations Conventions against corruption. This was very old convention, but we wouldn't have found it anywhere in the recent past. Okay, but UPSC frames such question only to test your mental caliber. Okay, if you, the moment you see such questions, you get scared, then you'll never attempt these questions. But such questions could be easily attempted, provided you stay clear, you stay calm. Okay, so I'll just tell you in the later parts, I'll just tell you how we can go through such questions. Fine, so this is one such question, 2019. And next is issue or event based. Okay, it's about two solution. These are more like dynamic sort of questions. Okay, so and this would be easy also, because in our preparation of 1 year or 6 months, we would have obviously came to hear about these things. So it is not going to be a big challenge for us. So you can easily answer these questions. In 2018, it was about two-state solution, and later it was a completely current affairs topic regarding famine and acute malnutrition, as well as war or ethnic conflicts. Again in 2019, very well known and easy question, general data protection. And next is institutions. Fine. And here again your homework lies here, because you need to memorize the members of the organization. Okay, and if you can do that every year, purely one question would be from this angle. Okay, from this subtopic. So you can expect one. So there are organizations, few organizations, 10 to 15 organizations for which you should know the members. Okay, it depends upon your smartness, how well you simplify it, how well you frame some words so that it will help you to memorize the members. So it is up to you, but this is one again important subtopic. And in 2018 it was about Asian, and again there was about GI tax. So in 2019 it was about Asian Infrastructure and Investment Bank. Okay, and also there will be a question in your mind like there are n number of organizations, but how is that possible to remember everything? See, regarding UPSC, it is not about whatever is in standard mode, we cannot memorize everything, but whatever is, it is exceptional. Just make note of the exceptionals, because the difference between hard work and smart work lies there only. Okay, and for example, in UN member, instead of going through reviewing all the member states, all the 193 plus member states, we can see the exceptional members within the organization. In that way, we can tend to reduce our efforts and work systematically. Okay, even such questions about Asian Infrastructure Bank, if you made up your mind that you will read every organization and then only I can attempt the paper, then it is going to be impossible event. Okay, just have a general idea and then use your logics, proceed with the answer. That is the simple steps to go through the paper with respect to IR part. Okay, now the question solving techniques. Fine. So till then is everything fine? Is my pace right? Am I going too fast, too slow? Yes, U1 we have covered. I will definitely mention the examples of exceptional members. Don't worry guys, I'll give you time to note down also. Whatever I say, do make a note of it. Okay, everything is there in the slide, so don't worry. I've made a gist of everything. So whatever the membership or how to remember it, what is the difference between the memberships, everything is mentioned in the slide itself. So I'll give you time, you can make note of it. But I just want a confirmation whether is my speed right, am I going too fast or too slow. What are all 10 to 15 organizations whose members we need to memorize? Definitely I'll say that, sir, no issues. Fine, okay, speed is okay, then I can continue. Fine. First is guesswork, okay? And the reason why I directly jump to guesswork is most of the questions in the prelims paper is from our logical guesses. So it is better to start there itself instead of wasting time. Guesswork based on what? Okay? These techniques cannot be applied to all the subjects. No. I mean cannot be applied. So it is applicable only to our IR part. So with respect to IR part, the first is based on mandate. Okay? The moment you see the paper, the moment you see that question, please don't see the options. Shankar sir used to say, don't go for the options immediately. Why? Because the moment you see the options, your mind will automatically get confused. Okay? So better hide the options, just see the theme of the question. Okay? I mean, the theme of the question is, if there is a question, what is the functions of World Trade Organization, if that is a question, just for example, if that is the question, the theme here is World Trade Organization, okay? That is the theme of the question. So just focus the theme of the question. The moment you see the theme, that is the World Trade Organization, the content in your mind should automatically process. Whatever information you know about WTO, that should immediately, the content should be taken from your stored files and immediately flash across your brains, okay? With that knowledge, then proceed to the options part. Because in that way, you will not get confused from the options given there. Because the UPSC questions, more than the questions, the options are very tricky. Okay, because you can easily eliminate two options. But the real challenge lies between eliminating the remaining two. I mean, eliminating the remaining one and finding the right. There only majority of the candidates lose their marks. So instead of seeing the options directly, just see the theme of the question, recollect whatever you know about the particular theme mentioned in the question, and then proceed with answering. And first is based on mandate. Think whether that particular organization can perform the task or whatever is mentioned in the question. Okay? So with the mandate of organization, try to answer the questions. As I had mentioned earlier, the exceptional things are, like for this example, between World Bank and IMF. What could be done, what could not be done by both the organizations. Say for example, there is one report, Global Debt Statistics. Okay, that is the question. So which of the organization would you think that have released it? Either World Bank or IMF? Any answers? IMF. Okay, completely I agree to it. Okay, IMF. Even if I was there in the exam, I would go for IMF. But unfortunately, the Global Debt Statistics is released by World Bank. Okay, because debt, financial management, IMF as the mandate, we'll go for that. But the exceptional things, as I had mentioned earlier, which are very confusing and which UPSC are well versed in that particular area, they will definitely pose such questions so that we go wrong. But make note of such things. Fine. So it is the mandate of, World Bank releases the Global Debt Statistics. Okay, there is an option none, which I never gave them. Fine. Okay, then they see the examples. World Trade Organization, that is related to trade, and also TRIPS. Why I mentioned TRIPS here? Because we have World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. which is again a specialized agency of UN. I think we can get confused with that. But see, WIPO is related only with intellectual property rights, whereas the trade related intellectual property, okay, the trade in goods and services that is related with intellectual property, that is governed by WTO under the TRIPS agreement. Okay, so these are the things which you can note down. And see, again we have World Customs Organization, okay, which is related to customs regulations. Say for example, we have the HS code, the nomenclature which countries use for recognizing the trade in goods. That is a simple identity to the goods that could be used worldwide. So that also being covered in the topics, so we can see it elaborately at the later part. And again see, World Bank, it is related to development aspects, whereas IMF, it's related to balance of payment, financial stability. So do make a note of it, only the examples. A minute for making a note. So in another 40 to 45 days, build your confidence, guys, because only confidence will help you to clear the exam, this exam especially. So don't be scared, afraid, keep all your the emotional parts aside, okay? Don't stress too much on the examination. Prepare well, stay confident, maintain your calmness in the exam hall, you will definitely do well. Take my word. Fine, so shall we move on? Yes. The GI tax, yes. GI, the identification tax, that is what I mentioned. Fine, so let's move on. Okay, the next technique, it is to recollect the current news between two countries as well as the region. Again, it is not possible for us to go through all the agreements or conventions, because we can only follow whatever there is in the news. But whereas the examination, they could have access to the informations which are not accessible by us, which are not accessible to us. So in that case, try to remember or try to recollect what is happening in that particular continent, in that area. So is it possible for such a convention to come up? Say for example, see during Brexit talks, okay, it was more logical to guess a trade deal between India and Britain than India and Kenya. Okay, India and Kenya, India and Britain are two different areas. Fine. But after Brexit talks, it is more logical for Britain to arrive at a trade agreement with a developing country like India. So it is more logical. Again, this cannot be applied to everywhere. This cannot be applicable everywhere, because I had mentioned do not try this for factual ones. But 90% of the cases could be solved through these logical guesses. Fine, but it is not applicable to the factual ones I had mentioned. Again, the video is blurred. Okay, it is fine here, so we'll continue. Next, whether legally binding or not. Again, this we cannot go through for every topic. Okay, every convention we cannot search for the exact thing of whether it is legally binding or not. Just try to remember this fact, this logic. See, no country in the world would be willing to share their powers. Everyone wants to have their freedom. Everyone wants to have their own course of action. So they do not want to be controlled by an external authority. That is why in international relations there is no one world government. Okay, everyone functions through consensus, at least theoretically. Practically it is not so, but theoretically everything functions through consensus. That is the mutual cooperation and discussion of all the organizations, all the member states. So for a particular convention, if it is going to threaten the sovereignty or independence of a country, that country will definitely not go in for that convention. Okay, that convention also will not be framed in such a manner, because most of the conventions, except for few security related or environmental related, most of the conventions are prepared in a consensual manner. Okay, countries sit, discuss, arrive at their own convenient frames, and then go for the agreement. So legally binding or not, you can try to find out from that. And also the questions would not be asked randomly, like whether that convention. They'll focus more on conventions which India are part of. Okay, so using this logic, you can easily try to solve the answers. Say most agreements, partnerships, associations are voluntary in nature, which does not threaten the sovereignty and integrity of the country. Okay, but there are critical issues like nuclear security, environmental threats, example climate change, which requires legally binding conventions. Okay, again, why we go in for legally binding conventions is that no country will be willing to take action on those areas. And also there is no absolute equality between all the member states. There is a poorer state, there is a richer state, there is technologically advanced state. So there are various differences between the member states. So it is not possible to arrive at a simple yardstick or a single yardstick to gather these countries. So there we need legally binding conventions only on critical issues like nuclear security, environmental threats, so that for the welfare of the entire globe. Example, Paris Accord is legally binding and India accepted the accord because the contributions are determined by us. The NDC is voluntarily determined. India, given its past history and also how the External Affairs Ministry functions, is that we will never go in for any agreement, convention that pulls down or limits our powers and freedom. We are a sovereign country, we completely respect the sovereignty we possess. So we will, even in future, I'm very sure we will never go in for any convention that pulls down our sovereignty. Fine. So using this also you can know it's fine. Okay, fine. The video is fine. Okay, guys. So I don't think so there is anything to be copied here. Fine. So we shall move on. Stakeholders, again. Stakeholders, this again is one technique you could use to solve the questions. Try to decode the relationship status among the members mentioned in the question. Okay. In a Sunni-based organization like Gulf Cooperation Council, there can't be a place for Shia powers like Iran. Fine. So using that relationship aspects, using that calculation also, you can easily arrive at the questions. Say for example, in organizations of Indo-Pacific, in organizations of between capitalism and communism, you can easily use this and try to arrive at the answers. Another example is, in most of the society and environment related programs, the membership will be open to private bodies and NGOs. Why so? Because see, in the world, if the membership is only restricted to intergovernmental bodies, a big question arises when regarding the funding part. Because to my surprise, I found few organizations where 80% of the fundings come from private donors. So for the funding part, they will never restrict the participation of NGOs for the HR part and the private bodies for the funding. So most of the organizations, it will be open to private bodies and NGOs. Why I had mentioned this example is that there are few questions which particularly say that the membership is not open to private bodies as well as NGOs. It is not so. Okay, because the few old questions I had found this statement, hence I had included it specifically. Fine. So next is analysis of previous year questions. So I think it will be too early to do it here. So rather we'll see some current affairs topics. Then we'll come back and go through the questions, and then again we'll jump to the current affairs part. Because I don't want to make it a monotonous session of going through the current affairs completely. Rather, we'll have a shift between these two so that it breaks our monotony. Fine. So next is preparation tips. As usual, First is know the mandate of the organization. So whichever you prepare, I am very sure everyone would have read at least one current affairs compilation, and I am also sure that nothing is going to be questioned from that. Rather, try to grasp the content, the topics which are there in the current affairs compilation. Fine. Try to get a knowledge of the topics being mentioned here and do your own homework to process the information required specifically for our examination. So first is know the mandate of all organizations. Next, memorize the members of organizations. Okay. Few say for the prelims we don't have to memorize anything. We can just go using our logics. We can easily crack the paper. That's true, but the time varies, right? If you remember the organization's members, if the members are in your fingertip, you can consume that time and spend that saved time in some other questions where you find it difficult. Okay, you can use that spare time to concentrate more and tackle the toughest questions. So it is better for us, for an aspirant, to remember the members of the organization and proceed further. Next, keep an update of events happening in each continent. Say for example, the Arab Accord of West Asia, that was quite surprising when it was in the news. So like that, try to follow the changes that is happening in the geopolitical relationships. Okay, so that has to be updated so that you don't make minor mistakes there. Next, focus on issues or events closely associated with India. Say for example, Indian leaderships in international organizations, Indian actions, or as India proposed any convention, any international body or organization. So please focus on those issues also. Next is be strong with associated subjects like geography, economics and environment. Again, with the evolving trend of our prelims, UPSC is focusing more on combination questions where they tend to combine two subjects: international organization, environment, international organization, geography, international organization, environment. So be strong with this with associated subjects so that you could easily answer. Why? Because I tend to find the questions on IO plus environment part becoming more and more complicated. I won't say difficult, but little bit of higher level. So these in order to answer those questions, you should be strong with these associated subjects so that we can easily go for the answering. So till now, is everything fine? Any doubts? I am waiting for the answer in the Zoom. Okay. Fine. Fine. So shall we start proceeding to the topics? Yes. Okay. We'll start. First is Unite Aware. Okay, it was in news recently, last month. So Unite Aware, it is what? It is basically a platform, a technical platform that provides information for the peacekeepers so that the number of casualties as well as the complication in proceeding with the task reduces. So India is in partnership with the UN Department of Peacekeeping Operations, and which has been working towards developing a mobile technical platform called Unite Aware, providing situational awareness and terrain related information to peacekeepers. So till then you will find in most of the compilations, current affairs compilations. But where our homework lies is that because UPSC, the easiest questions can be just termed that Unite Aware, what is the objective? Yes. But if in case they want to go one step further, they will try to question in the fringe topics associated with this Unite Aware. Say for example, see the notes given here. Right now the Indian peacekeepers are working in Democratic Republic of Congo, which is a humanitarian assistance and disaster relief regarding the eruption of a volcano, Mount Nyiragongo. Okay, excuse me for my pronunciation. So that is one fact you can make note of it. And also here, India is one of the largest troop contributing countries to UN peacekeeping missions and has contributed more than 250,000 troops. Whereas regarding the financial aspect, the top 3 contributors to UN peacekeeping operations budget are USA, China and Japan. Please make a note of these 2 facts. Again here, we would have thought that India is the largest contributors to peacekeeping force. Fine, but it is not so. It is one of the largest. And if you come across the countries which contribute more than India, you will be completely surprised. You couldn't even guess it by logic. Okay. So I'll just show it in the next slide, but a minute for you to copy it. Just copy that the present Indian peacekeepers are found in are working in Democratic Republic of Congo, and with respect to UN PKO, the budget contributions, the top 3, US, China and Japan. See here also, we from our residual memory, we can try to limit it to USA and China. But there we'll find the confusion, whether it is US or China. Okay, for that only try to note down these things, these crucial things, so that it will help you to save time and also answer correctly. Fine, so let's proceed. Next would be a slide on who are the contributors, that is the manpower contributions which are higher than India. See, Bangladesh happens to be the topmost when it comes to contributing to UN peacekeeping operations. This was completely a surprise to me also, because I thought India should be one in the first 3 spots, but to my utter surprise, it is coming in the 5th position. Bangladesh, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Nepal and India. So just note down, India comes at 5th position, but there are countries above it like Bangladesh, Rwanda. So that's it. Fine. And these are also taken from the official websites also. So the authenticity of the information put in the slide is also verified. So you can comfortably copy it. Fine, that's a short topic about Unite Aware. It's simply a technical platform to provide information for the peacekeeping forces to reduce their complexities and casualties. Next part regarding UN elections. Okay, 3 significant post or elections are taken place this year. Fine, and these are UN General Assembly President. Most of you would be aware of that. The Maldives Foreign Minister has been elected as the UN General Assembly President for the 76th session. No need dates or the number of the session, but I just mentioned it so that you will be aware of how many years or what is the tenure of that post. For that only I had mentioned here clearly. So 76th session, the President-elect, by now he is addressed as President-elect. Only after September he will be the President. So that starts from September 2021 to September 2022. Next is UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has been re-elected for his 2nd term. His first term was in 2017 to 2022, and now he has been re-elected, to be more precise, reappointed. Okay, it is not re-elected, it should be reappointed for 22 to 27. Again, UNSC non-permanent members 22 to 23. Again, it's a 2-year term. Okay, it starts from Jan 1, 2022 to 2022 to 2023. Jan 1, 2022 to December 31st, 2023. So that's a 2-year term. So we'll proceed further. UNSC membership and presidency that is United Nations Security Council. Okay, before applying, each country must obtain the votes of 2/3. Okay, special majority of the member states present in voting at the General Assembly. Okay, out of total membership, at the General Assembly, 2/3 should be voting for a member state to become a non-permanent member of UNSC. Okay, like for example, out of 193 UN members, 129 votes, assuming that all are present and voting, 129 votes are essential to become a UNSC non-permanent member. Again, your numbers are completely not necessary, but just try to note down the fact of special majority. Just a minute, guys. What was the top 3 budget contributors point in previous slide? Sir, it is US, China and Japan. Just a minute, guys. Yes, it was US, China, Japan. US is the topmost, followed by China and then succeeded by Japan. Yes, let's continue. And even if candidates being endorsed by their regional group, they are running unopposed, formal balloting is required. Because in UNSC, the non-permanent membership is divided based on regions. There are 5 to 6 regions based on which the nominees take place the position. So even they are going unopposed in that particular region, the formal balloting process will take place. Fine. And here there are specific facts about it. Okay, this should be made a note of. Earlier, no countries had split their terms except for one time, which in 2016, Italy and Netherlands split their 2 years term into 1 year and 1 year. Okay, only once it has happened. That is, both the countries of that particular region have shared their 2-year tenure equally among them. That has happened only once. So that is also a possibility. So that is the first fact. And next is 78% of the races for Security Council seats have been uncontested. Why I had mentioned the formal balloting process is that because of this fact only. Just because there is no one contesting for that election, that doesn't mean that they are elected unopposed. The formal balloting will take place. The United Nations General Assembly members should cast their votes in favor of the particular candidate. So that is what. And the 5 members who are going to serve now, that is the recently held elections, they have elected 5 members, that is Albania, Brazil, Gabon, Ghana and United Arab Emirates. Okay, already we have 10 members, okay, 5 permanent, 10 non-permanent, and India has been selected for the term of 2021 to 2022, that is January 1, 2021 to December 31st, 2022, and now for the next 2 years part, 5 members have been selected. That are, those are these 5 members. Please make a note of it. Leave some gap also. Why? Because if 5 are going to be elected, you should also know who are the 5 going to demit their offices, and also the existing 5 members along with India who are serving from 2021 to 2022. So leave some space. It is mentioned in the next slide. Am I clear? Am I not, am I confusing you guys? No answer in the Zoom? Okay, fine. No, thank you. So shall we proceed? Albania, Brazil, Gabon, Ghana and UAE. Yes, the newly elected 5 will join the India, Ireland, Kenya, Mexico and Norway who are serving for 2021 to 2022 term. And the next part is those who would be demitting their office, that is vacating their seats, would be Vietnam, St. Vincent and Grenadines, which is an island nation in Caribbean, Estonia, Niger and Tunisia. Make a note of this also. Few writing work has to be done, guys. So because previously there was a request whether I would be able to share this PPT, which unfortunately I won't be able to do that. So some writings, hope it will also help you to remember those things. So kindly forgive me for that, for being unable to share this PPT. So please make a note of it. Is it mandate to remember those country? I don't think so. You have to remember it, but just have a glance. Okay. Thing is, you don't have to remember everything, but the moment you see, you write it down once or you try to glance at it, it will automatically help you at the real examination. If there are some questions about the existing membership, then you could easily answer. Okay. Don't worry, you will not be made to remember each and everything. Okay, only the crucial things I have included in the slide. So if you put your effort in remembering it, that will be useful for you. Could you please show the last slide? Yes. Okay, there was one question, didn't understand the formal balloting. Okay, I'll just explain. The formal balloting is that, say, if in UNSC we have this regions, say Asia Pacific, then Latin American, Caribbean, then Western Europe, African, Eastern Europe. We have 5 regions of which the members would be going to the UNSC. Just to maintain the geographical representation, we have come up with this arrangement. If in case in Asia Pacific, India is going unopposed, that is, no other countries in the Asia Pacific want to contest for UNSC, and they are perfectly fine with India taking up their representation. Even if that is the case, the General Assembly members should gather and they should elect India for the post. Just because the members of the particular region are okay with that specific member to go for UNSC, that doesn't mean it takes the acceptance of all other UN General Assembly members. No. By formal balloting, I mean the UN General Assembly will gather and 2/3, that is a special majority votes is needed for that particular unopposed member of that region to become a non-permanent member of UNSC. Fine? Have I made things clear for formal balloting? Fine. So let's move to the next. Yes, this, I think this you would have taken note of. Next is UNSC President. There is one question, can a non-permanent member re-elected consequently? While going through the topic, I didn't find anything that bars their number of tenures. Okay, I didn't find anything specifically. But then too, I again recheck it and let you know tomorrow. But to my logic, see, if in that particular geography, many members are there and everyone wants to be part of UNSC. So logically, they wouldn't be allowing anyone to go serve for consecutive terms. There won't be any possibility for that. But regarding the formal charter of UN, I didn't find anything specifically like that. But for the doubt being mentioned here, I will recheck it and let you know tomorrow. I'll note this down and recheck also if there are any instances where a particular member have served consequently. Current affairs up to which month of this year is essential for this exam? So again, it's a very difficult question to answer. Before the exam, 12 to 15 months of current affairs is what we generally prepare. So going by that universal answer, I will suggest for 12 to 15 months of current affairs. Fine. So let's proceed. UNSC president, okay, and the UNSC president, I came to find few articles which says that India for the first time is chairing the UNSC presidency seat, but it is not so. We have held the office for 8 times, and UNSC presidency is about in rotation, which happens for every month in an alphabetical order. So that is a wrong news which has been spread. So earlier also we had held the position of presidency, but only now it is being known publicly maybe. So the first thing is the presidency for the UNSC Council is in turn for 1 month following the English alphabetical order of the member states. Okay, when going through this particular point, I am remembering the SCO where Russian alphabetical orders are used for rotation of the post among the members. So just a short trivia. So the next is the head of the country's delegation is again known as the president of the United Nations Security Council. That is, whoever is representing the particular member state, they happen to become the president of UNSC. And next, the function of the president, that is to coordinate actions of the council, decide policy disputes, sometimes function as a diplomat, as an intermediary between conflicting groups. Say for example, the present Afghanistan situation, if it goes to the table of UNSC, the president coordinates everything. Okay, what action should be taken, or is it like a wait and watch approach, or we can proceed with the sanctions part or proceed with further actions, all depends upon how well the president serves as a coordinator, coordinates the position. The last thing is India starting its 8th tenure, and it is not the first time that India holds presidency of the council. Okay, every month the president changes, so it is not possible. Next, United Nations General Assembly President. Okay, the UNGA, called the Parliament of World, is headed by its president, who is elected for a term of 1 year with simple majority via a secret ballot. Okay, just imagine whenever the United Nations is there, just try to arrive at similarities just like our Indian Parliament. There was a question, what did you mention about Russian alphabetical order? In SCO, the post changes among its members based on Russian alphabetical order. When it was mentioned in UNSC for English alphabetical order, I tend to remember that, and hence I shared that fact. That's it. Let's continue. General Assembly President, it is elected for a term of 1 year with simple majority via a secret ballot. Okay. And the presidency rotates among 5 regional groups: Asian, that is Asia Pacific, Eastern European, Latin American and Caribbean states, African, Western European, and others. Again, Asian group is the second largest after African group. If at all you find time, just go to the UN website and just glance at the members located in that particular region, because there is a mix of many. Okay, their geographical location will be something, but their membership in the group will be different. So just glance. If at all you have time, just have a look at those members. And again, only in 1953, Vijayalakshmi Pandit has become the 8th president of General Assembly, the only Indian General Assembly president till date. And again, the General Assembly president only administers oath to the Secretary General. Since all these posts are elected, I am just including these trivial matters also. Fine. So only one Indian has been the president of General Assembly till now. Only that has to be noted, not even the name. Okay, I mean, no need the name also, just this fact. And again, the president-elect is Maldivian foreign minister, and he has made a Indian diplomat to be the chef de cabinet, which simply means the chief secretary of that position. And it is also the first time a Indian diplomat is holding this position. Okay. No need the names, but just try to remember that it is the first time a Indian diplomat is holding the post of chef de cabinet to the General Assembly President. Previous slide, nothing to note. Just there is only one Indian till date has become the General Assembly President, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, in 1953. That's it. Next slide. Sir, is UNSC presidency more powerful than General Assembly presidency? In UNSC president, see, it functions by the consensus. Okay, based on consensus, the UNSC functions, and we have something mechanism called veto. So again, the president loses his power, his or her power there. So in UNSC doesn't go so. UN General Assembly, the president, I won't say it completely powerful. At least you can be the person to initiate things which do not go well in with the major powers. Okay, at least the General Assembly president has the power to initiate discussion in few topics which has been neglected to the interest of former superpowers like USA, etc. Okay. So let's proceed to the next. Voting types again. Okay, it's a small recollection only. It is not very important. The voting types, when there is a discussion on questions like peace and security, admission of new members, and budgetary matters, it requires a 2/3 majority of General Assembly. That again includes electing non-permanent members of United Nations Security Council. And decisions on other questions apart from these areas, it is governed by simple majority. The Assembly has no binding votes or veto powers like UNSC. It follows the principle of one member, one vote, and one value. Again, a short thing here is one specific fact which I found. The member state which do not contribute to the budget and they have arrears, that is balance for that exceeds 2 preceding years, they lose their vote in General Assembly. So there is an exception within the charter that prevents member states from casting their vote if they haven't contributed to the UN General Assembly. Fine. Dues, that is the dues, whether it could be budgetary contributions or any other dues for which UN has spent the resources. So in that case, they tend to lose their vote. Again, not so important aspect, I mean point, but just out of the charter, when I came across this, when I was preparing for this topic, I came across this particular provision, so I would like to share it. And as of June 2021, there are 4 members who are subjected to such provisions. They are Central African Republic, Comoros, Sao Tome and Principe, and Somalia. Of course, it is expected countries from African continent. So no need to note these countries, but just a fact associated with the charter. Let's move to the next. Yes, the subsidiary organs of General Assembly. Okay, we tend to focus more on specialized agencies, but apart from that, there are few subsidiary organs. So that the main function of these subsidiary organs are just like our standing committees. So General Assembly, all the member states gather, they discuss an issue, but there might be a need for technical resources, additional more precise informations. That back work would be done by these subsidiary organs, which consist of boards, commissions, committees, councils and panels, working groups and others. Like the main function is, after discussing the items on the agenda, the subsidiary organs present their recommendations, usually in the form of draft resolutions and decisions, to the members of the assembly. So it is just like the committees which Indian Parliament has. Okay, more precisely, the departmental standing committees, just like that, the UN General Assembly has these subsidiary organs which are divided into their own mandates, and they will discuss about these things. Okay, so let's see what are those subsidiary organs. Under the commissions, we have Disarmament Commission, okay, abolishing the weapons, International Civil Service Commission, International Law Commission, United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, United Nations Conciliation Commission on Palestine, United Nations Peace Building Commission. Again, you don't have to go in deep with respect to all these organs or to know whether what sort of work do they do or what is their mandate. No need, but just have an idea. UN General Assembly has subsidiary organs that helps to function better by providing them with the technical resources, recommendations and all the other arrangements. And under Advisory Commission, we have a United Nations Relief and Works Agency, okay, for Palestine refugees in the Near East. That is under the Advisory Commission. Because you should never, why I mentioned here is that you should never mistake them to be a specialized agency of UN. No. Okay. Focus, try to remember what are the specialized agencies. For example, if there is a question or telling that International Law Commission is a specialized agency of UN, there you should not go wrong. UPSC will only restrict till there. Okay, they won't ask deep in these sub areas, but there you should know that it doesn't fall under the specialized agency of UN. Only for that sake, I am mentioning these commissions as well as advisory commissions. Next is assembly. One assembly, that is UN Environment Assembly, which is the governing council of UNEP, which I have included and we'll be seeing it elaborately also. Next is the councils, Human Rights Council, again it is there in the topics. Then the governing council for UN, Human Settlement Program, that is the UN Habitat, and then the council for the United Nations University. Fine. So let's proceed. Now comes the United Nations Secretary General. Okay. So the Secretary General, it is not an elected post. The UNSC in a closed door meeting, they discuss, make up the recommendation, and the UN General Assembly, just as a formality, they go on for the appointing. Okay. So he or she is appointed by the General Assembly on the recommendation of Security Council. And the important point to note down is the selection is therefore subject to the veto of any of the 5 permanent members. Again, with the veto power, the permanent members gain their stronghold. But when it comes to non-permanent members, out of 15, 9 votes, that is the 5 permanent members plus the support of 4 non-permanent members are needed for a candidate to become the UN Secretary General. That is what mentioned in the other points. Fine. So General Secretary, the Security Council does all the work. The mere appointment by the General Assembly is just a formality. He or she serves for a term of 5 years. And one point to note down is none of the previous Secretary Generals has served for more than 2 consecutive terms. Okay, the previous ones are Ban Ki-moon from South Korea, Kofi Annan, Ghana, Boutros Ghali from Egypt, Javier from Peru, Kurt from Austria, Yutan from Burma, and Dak from Sweden. So no need to remember the names again, but just glance at the countries from where the Secretary Generals have come. The present one from Portugal. There is a question: Are they experts body? No. They won't be termed as experts body, but the work regarding the particular commission will be allocated to them by the General Assembly. That is, say for example, if there is a Civil Services Union of UN, I mean that is the International Civil Services Commission, then their area of work would be restricted within that civil servants and their services offered. So whatever further technical resource or any back work has to be done, that will be allocated to UN General Assembly to those subsidiary organs. It is just like the departmental standing committees of Parliament. Yes, till now no Indian Secretary General. Okay. So let's proceed further. The 5 permanent members, again, as I had mentioned earlier, can eliminate a candidate by veto. And when it comes to non-permanent members, they require at least 9 out of 15 votes. We all know that. So nothing much to focus here. For any candidate to have a real chance of being considered for the top post, a recommendation by any UN member state is essential, which means a particular candidate wants to become a Secretary General, any member state within the organization has to recommend their name. It is not necessarily that the home country only should recommend or should support the candidature. No, other countries too can support their candidature, but normally it doesn't work like that. The home country mostly extends their support to the candidate. In our case, Antonio Guterres was endorsed by Portugal for the 2nd term, and none of his 7 other challengers received backing from a member state, thus making him go for the post. So just short facts which I thought I should share it with you, because if these points are not included, it breaks the continuity. So that's why I'm just including these facts also. So nothing to note down here, but just remember, a recommendation by any UN member state is essential for Secretary General to go for the post. Please show previous slide. Guys, please don't waste time by making note of everything. If it is important, I'll let you know by myself, because always aspirants, we have this fear of missing out. But I don't want you guys to take note of everything, okay, because that will waste your time, your energy. And in UPSC, it is easy to study, but the ultimate challenge lies in revising it and recollecting it. So content, reduce your content, okay, reduce your study material and revise effectively. So that's it. Okay, then let's proceed. Again, there was a small change in 2015 by which the information about every candidate is displayed, and there was also sessions of member states conducting an interview-like process, like questioning the candidate who's appearing for the UN Secretary General post. So that was a resolution, that was a change made through a resolution in 2015, where the selection process became more open and transparent, because until then it was a closed door meeting of UNSC who decides the post for Secretary General. But only from 2015 it has been democratized, so that all the member states get to interview the candidates, get to know about their background of what they contributed to UN. So that changes has been made from 2015. That's it. Nothing to note. Next, the functions. Again, functions, just have a glance. You don't have to note down anything. Okay. The Secretary General is the body's chief administrative officer, who shall act in the capacity and perform such functions entrusted to them by the Security Council, General Assembly, Economic and Social Council, and United Nations organ. It is more like an executive body. Okay, all the policy making, all the decision making authorities are exercised by other organs, that is the Security Council, General Assembly, Economic and Social Council, and other organs. Whereas when it comes to the execution part, when it comes to the administration part, the Secretary General comes into the picture. It is clearly defined as equal parts diplomat and advocate, civil servant, and CEO. Everything boils down to the task of executing the decisions being taken up at the higher level. That's it. The Secretary General's day-to-day work includes attendance at sessions, consultations, and worldwide travel, etc. Okay. So these are the functions. Try to remember, it is more of an executive work. if Secretary General appointment is subjected to veto power of permanent members, why is 9 votes required? Why is 9 votes required is that because the non-permanent member should not be simply portrayed as a puppet in the eyes of the world, right? You keep 5 members. By veto power, they make sure that the 5 supreme powers, so-called supreme powers in the UNSC are satisfied. But if you don't give any respect to these non-permanent members, what is the objective of keeping these non-permanent members itself? For the sake of their membership, at least they should do something, no? For that only those 4 additional votes are given. See, short fact is that, see, in United Nations and these international organizations, see, the former members will never be happy to divest their powers, okay? They'll make sure the other non-permanent members are satisfied in a minuscule fraction, that's it. But the permanent members, they will never keep their or leave their stronghold of veto power. So only for satisfying the non-permanent members and portraying to the world that UNSC is a very democratic organization, that is with respect to the representation and powers, this 4 votes, that is 9 votes are needed for the elections of Secretary General. That's it. Functions, yes, yes. And here comes few data, please make note of it. See, in UN member states 193, of course we know everyone. I mean we know these numbers, but the things to note down is there are 2 UN permanent non-member observer states, State of Palestine and Holy See Vatican City. And by observer states, what do they mean is that they can participate as observers in the sessions and the work of General Assembly, and also maintain the permanent observer missions at the headquarters. Their representation could be there. They are not full-fledged members, but they are observers. So UN has 193 full-fledged permanent members and 2 observers, which is State of Palestine and Holy See Vatican City. Just because 3 elections have happened in UN in the past few months, I thought it should be necessary to include these trivial data also, so that it will be easier for you to revise and make note of the exceptional things. Because when we go for current affairs compilations, we tend to miss our homework regarding these topics. We just blindly stick to whatever is mentioned there. But again, because most aspirants, we complain that UPSC doesn't question anything from the compilation, because they don't go through the compilation. They go through the news and they take questions from whatever is associated with that news. But we blindly follow the news, leaving the fringe topics, fringe areas associated with a particular topic, as a result of which there is a mismatch between the expectation of a candidate and service delivery of UPSC, to be more precise. So in order to avoid that, while going through a topic itself, okay, try to go through the fringe areas, the likely areas where UPSC can raise an answer, raise a question. So these are very important. Okay. So states not recognized by UN, but recognized by other member states. That is, other UN member states haven't recognized their existence, but they are recognized by, the UN hasn't recognized their existence, but they are recognized by other member states. They are Kosovo. The numbers indicate the number of member states who have recognized, but it is not necessary. Just have an idea of the existence of such names, countries, to be more precise. Kosovo, Western Sahara, Taiwan, South Ossetia and Abkhazia, which are both are near Georgia, and Northern Cyprus. Again, another differentiating fact is, see, in UNFCCC, okay, Framework for Climate Change, there are 197 members, that is 193, the full-fledged members, plus 2 observers, that is the Palestine, 1 observer, Palestine, Niue, Cook's Island and EU. Okay. Hard work is going through all the 193 members, whereas smart work is only trying to find the exceptional and making note of it. So that's why I mentioned here, because there could be a sweeping statement which says that the membership is common in all UN related organs, which is not so. Just because a member state is part of UN or the particular member state is not part of UN, they are not barred from other organizations. UNFCCC, UN, World Health Organization, World Trade Organization, they all have different criteria for membership. Hence, they tend to differ with the membership offered by UN, though they all come under the specialized agencies of UN. One question, how to become a permanent UNSC member? Probably I have no answer for this. If in case you come to find the answer, please share it with me also. UNFCCC, 193 plus Palestine, UA, Cook's Island plus EU. World Health Organization, again, out of 193 full-fledged members, Liechtenstein is not part of it. So I have mentioned it 192, that is 193 minus Liechtenstein. That's what I have mentioned it as 192, plus Niue Island and Cook's Island. The Niue Island and Cook's Island both are near the in the South Pacific Ocean, nearby New Zealand. Because in UPSC questions, they too know that it is not possible to remember or mug up all the names, whereas they'll focus only on these things. If Liechtenstein is one of the options, you can easily eliminate it by noting down these points. And why I had taken WHO specifically is that, see, all the COVID related information has become a past, okay? Though they are in existence, enormous questions in various competitive exams are appeared. So going to the next things should be the perfect. Okay. EU I had mentioned specifically, okay, it comes under the 197 nations itself, okay. So I just, an organization, mostly it has member states, but since an organization is present there, I had mentioned it specifically. That's it. No need to confuse. So let's move on. Hope you guys had copied. So we shall move on. Okay, again, one short fact or information about the UNESCO and UN members. See, not all UNESCO member states are UN member states and vice versa, which means not all UNESCO members are UN members. Similarly, not all UN members are UNESCO members too. But both have 193 members. The difference is UN Niue, Cook's Island, and Palestine are member states of UNESCO, okay, but they are not members of UN. Other than UN, there is no specific distinction of full-fledged members, observer states. Other subsidiary agencies of UN don't follow that distinction. So they are all just members as per their official documents. Okay. So similarly, there are 3 member states of the United Nations who are not members of UNESCO, that is US, Israel, and Liechtenstein. Yes, US, due to its, since it is not happy with the functions of UNESCO and Palestine, they have came out of the organization, and there is a demand for break. Is a break needed? What is the time now? 3:53. Okay, so We are going in a dead slow phase, guys. So few more slides are there. If I am able to complete it, then we could go in for a break. But let's see. I'm going in a slow pace only. Only this little writing should be extracting your energy. Yes, okay. No need for a break. So we shall carry in with our routine. Fine. Let's. I mean, hope you all copied it. Let's proceed for the next. Sorry. This one. Hope you had copied this also. Okay, just 3 members. Okay, that is New Cook's Island as well as Palestine. Whereas with respect to UNESCO, it is US, Israel, and Liechtenstein. And yes, this is a criteria which the UN follows. Okay, for its membership, they have to satisfy 4 key attributes: having a permanent population, having a defined territory, being able to carry out foreign relations independently with other countries, and a country must be a peace-loving nation, and it has to be demonstrated subsequently from its previous actions. The reason for New Islands and Cook's Island not becoming a part of UN full-fledged member is because they don't carry out foreign relations independently. They come under the guidance of New Zealand when it comes to foreign policy relations. So that's why they are not becoming permanent members of UN. Again, you don't have to note it down. Think logically. Can a member state without a permanent population or a defined territory, can it become a member of UN? Not possible. Foreign relations, independent foreign relations that talks about sovereignty should be necessary for becoming a UN member state. Again, it is no need to note down. And it should be a peace-loving nation. We cannot expect a non-peace-loving nation to be part of UN. So these 4 things are quite logical. You don't have to copy anything. We'll proceed to the next slide. UN Environment Assembly. Earlier it was the Governing Council. Okay, UN Environment Assembly. Earlier it was a Governing Council to the UN Environment Program. Later it got renamed as Environmental Assembly. It is the world's highest level decision-making body of the environment. Okay, and its function is to address the critical environmental challenges. That is the main function of Environment Assembly. With respect to its functioning, that is the operation, it meets biennially, that is 2 years once, to set priorities for global environment and also catalyze intergovernmental actions on the environment. The word biennial is important. That's it. Other than that, through logic, we can come to know that the main function of Environment Assembly is to discuss and arrive at decisions regarding the global environmental threats. It was created in 2012 when it was on UN Nation Conference on Sustainable Development. The assembly is led by a bureau and its president, and the bureau assists the president. All these are just associated facts that I had mentioned, but not very important. Just have a look at it. Okay. The bureau is composed of 10 ministers and follows a geographical rotations. Again, when the term geographical rotations itself come, there is no need for trying to know how are they elected. They are having a fixed geographical representation, and they'll ensure that the presidency and the membership rotates among those people who make up the assembly. The assembly is the governing body of UNEP, as I had mentioned earlier, and it is composed of 193 member states. Nothing so exceptional here, so that is why I didn't mention any membership. So it is open, it is assumed UN 193 members. States not members of North Korea is part of UN. States not part of, I had rechecked it, states not members of UNESCO. US, Israel, and Liechtenstein. Okay, let's continue. Yes, composed of one, and yes, And in addition to that, it has a committee of permanent representatives. Since the assembly gets constituted 2 years once, in between the sessions of the assembly, there is a committee of permanent representatives who discuss the agenda of the future assemblies and how the decisions has to be implemented. So that is what with respect to committee of permanent representatives. So it is just the associated body of UN Environment Assembly, nothing much. Next is UN Better Than Cash Alliance. Again, it's a small fact or a news associated with the UN, the initiatives taken recently. The main function is to transition from a cash to a responsible digital payments. The alliance has 77 members committed to digitalizing the payments services. Okay. So one crucial thing here is their members do not want to abolish the physical cash, but they just want a transition from physical cash to a digital ones. So UN Better Than Cash Alliance. Okay, the functions of the alliance, just have a glance, a look at providing advisory services, research and responsible practices, conducting awareness at national, regional and global level. And this one is very important. The UN Better Than Cash Alliance only has released this responsible digital payment guidelines, okay, which helps define the responsible digital payments through 8 good practices for engaging with the climates. Since this was in the news very recently, I thought I would include it in our topics. And out of that, more than UN Better Than Cash Alliance, this one found to be more useful and important. That is the responsible digital payment guidelines that is released by UN Better Than Cash Alliance. Yes, next comes through the members. Okay, is India a member? Obviously. Why should, see, try to apply your logics here, because India obviously will be part of a alliance that goes for digitalizing the payments, because we constantly promote digital payments. So India should also be part of this UN Better Than Cash Alliance. So try to use your logics and then proceed with the topics or proceed with your doubts. Okay, just have a glance, that's it. Okay, nothing much. So let's move on. These are the types of digital payments they have gone for: contactless payments, credit debit cards, online payments, mobile money, chip and pin, e-wallet, watch. Yes. Next comes the UN Convention on Laws of the Seas. The recent Italian Mariners Course, which has been resolved completely with the government depositing the required amount to the Supreme Court. So that was in news. Hence, I thought the convention could be an important topic. Again, it is known as the Law of the Sea Convention or the Law of the Sea Treaty. Okay, and it is a comprehensive regime of law and order in the whole world's oceans as well as seas. India has ratified the agreement in 1995. USA has not ratified it. Why I had mentioned USA specifically is that, see, we all would have assumed that USA, being a democratic country, should have gone in with this agreement, but it is not so. They haven't ratified the Convention on Laws of Sea. So I thought that it should be noted down. And simply, it is an agreement among the member states of the conference regarding the delimitation and sharing of the ocean space and resources. They have other 3 bodies also. Okay, International Tribunal, International Seabed Authority, Convention on Continental Shelves, which we will see detail. Yes, these are the charter under the UNCLOS Convention. They have an article that talks for freedom of high seas, which is applicable to both coastal as well as landlocked states. And by this, what do they say is that there should be freedom of navigation, freedom of overflight, okay, flying over that country, flying over that marine area, freedom to lay submarine cables, again common, freedom to construct artificial islands and other installations permitted under international laws, freedom of fishing subject to the conditions laid down in the section, and freedom of scientific research. All are common except for the freedom to construct artificial islands and freedom to overflight. The last point, I just toned down the words to simply it is an agreement, just an explanation regarding the Convention on Laws of Seas, nothing. Okay. These are the associated bodies, which is the International Tribunal on Laws of Seas, which helps to adjudicate the disputes, international seabed authorities for exploration and exploitation of marine non-living resources. Okay. Only those words will be made confused by the UPSC. So we should focus on these aspects very crucially. And also the Seabed Authority has recognized 8 contractors identified by international for polymetallic nodules extraction. They are India, KCRJ. This is my way of remembering things. Okay, KCRJ, that is South Korea, China, Russia and Japan. They come under one bubble, one IO bubble. I term it as IO bubble because by using this, I tend to remember or memorize things faster. So India, KCRJ, then Germany, France, Inter-Ocean Metal Joint Organization, which comprises Bulgaria, Cuba, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Poland, and Russian Federation. Okay, just make a note of these 8 contractors being recognized by International Seabed Authority. An IO bubble is that, see, Korea, China, Russia, and South Korea, China, Russia, and Japan all fall under the same East Asian region, right? So that is what I have termed them as IO bubble. That is the International Organizations bubble, just to club them together. Okay, because in the last part, I would be sharing you with the members of the organization in a simple way also. So by that time, you will be able to understand what I mean by IO bubble a lot. Okay. So India, I repeat, India, South Korea, China, Russia, Japan, Germany, France, and Inter-Ocean Metal Joint Organization, which comprises the following countries. A minute for you to copy. Okay, and next is the Commission on the Limits of Continental Shelf, which talks about establishing the outer limits of continental shelf. That's it. Okay, I hope you would have noted down the 8 contractors. Next is maritime zones under UNCLOS, just a reference. Okay. Most of you just have a glance at it. Most of you would have been aware of it. The territorial waters, contiguous zone, and the ICs. So we shall move on. Hope I am of the assumption that you would be aware of these topics since I am a little bit rushing fast. Next come UN Conference on Trade and Development. UNCTAD, it has to be prepared along with WTO because most of the functions, okay, converge with that of the functions of WTO. PMN extraction, polymetallic nodules, okay, which is a group of rare earth minerals found there that could be extracted for electronics industry, IT industries. Okay, UN Conference on Trade and Development, the report they release is World Economic Situation and Prospects Report, which is released in partnership with UN Department on Economic and Social Affairs, as well as 5 regional economic commissions. That is of not much importance since I haven't mentioned it. But it is released in partnership with UN Department as well as UN Conference on Trade and Development. UNCTAD is a permanent intergovernmental body or established by UN General Assembly. Okay. And it is a part of UN Secretariat. It reports to UN General Assembly and Economic and Social Council. The main function of the conference is to ensure that the benefits of globalization reach the developing countries. Last year, there was an article on generalized system preferences, GSP, by which they are given trade preferences, okay, zero duties, duty-free trade. These were the preferences given under the GSP program of UNCTAD. So the main function is to ensure that benefits of globalized economy reach the developed countries. I mean, developing countries, sorry. And the numbers are not needed. It functions on an annual regular budget. And the main sources of funding are trust funds, okay, voluntary contribution from donors. Next is UNDP. From UNDP also they receive their funding, and United Nations program budget. That is the overall budget of the UN. Fine. Now comes the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs. Again, it is a department of UN that deals with the economic and social aspects. Okay, it is upholding the development pillar of United Nations regarding the sustainable development goals. Again, regarding the operations, the functions part, the Under Secretary General is appointed by the Secretary General of UN, okay, to work for the development in social, economic, and environmental aspects. Fine. UN Committee on Development Policy. The reason for this finding the place here is because of the status, the LDC status of Bangladesh has been reviewed. So the organization which does that review is UNCDP. Okay. The Committee for Developmental Policy is a subsidiary body of Economic and Social Council. We all know that ECOSOC, that is the Economic and Social Council, is an organ of UN. Okay. And UNCDP is a subsidiary of that Economic and Social Council, which advises the council on wide range of issues for implementing the 2030 agenda of the SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. There are 24 members who are nominated, okay, nominated by the Secretary General and appointed by ECOSOC for a period of 3 years. Though there is no election, there is nomination only. And again, how the memberships are selected is that based on geographical, gender balance, as well as development experience. The CDP meets once a year at the plenary and the subsequent and submits its report to the Economic and Social Council. The main thing to note down here is that it is purely a nominated body, okay, and it is responsible for reviewing the status of least developed country tag. Every 3 years, the CDP reviews the least developed country category. And why do they review? That least developed countries are given their tag in order to receive their technical, financial aid or support from the developed countries, okay, as well as developing countries too. So that is more of a tag that attracts the help or provisions from other developed countries. So that is why they give this tag. And the review is based on quantitative criteria, okay, developed by the CDP. And it also monitors the countries regularly. Either they are graduating above the tag or are their position deteriorating than the LDC status. Not the developed status in general, the least developed country status of a country, LDC of a country would be reviewed by UNCDP. Fine. The CDP is assisted by the Secretariat, which is a part of Economic Analysis Policy Division of Department of Economic and Social Affairs. The reason for me putting up the Department of Economic and Social Affairs in the previous slide is because of a continuity required here regarding the Committee on Developmental Policy. The criteria they use, these are to be noted down: per capita income, human assets, indicators of nutrition, health, school enrollment, literacy, economic vulnerability with respect to indicators of natural trade related shocks, physical economic exposure to shocks, smallness and remoteness. Okay, just 3 things: economic vulnerability, human assets, and per capita income. Screen is not clear. Is it clear? Any answers? Okay, fine. It's clear. So let's move on to the next. World Health Organization. Did you mention anything about Bangladesh? Yes, the LDC status of Bangladesh has been reviewed recently by UNCDP. That is what, as a result of which this topic finds its place here. Just a minute, guys. Yes, we are short of. Fine. After WHO, we'll probably go for the answer analysis, and then we'll come back to WTO. Probably we should increase our pace, actually. Fine. Let's proceed with World Health Organization. Obviously, our former health minister took charge as the chairman of the executive board. World Health Assembly was conducted, and the recent corona pandemic. It will just be a short recap session. That's it, because most of you would have known everything that is mentioned here. So it will be a short recap. Okay, the objective, it is for better health for everyone, everywhere, and to combat communicable as well as non-communicable diseases. That is the objective of WHO. And again, with respect to the membership, the chairman post is for 1 year. So probably it should be completed by now, I guess. Otherwise, the post would be replaced. Okay. And the members, it also includes non-UN member states who are recognized. That is Cook's Island and Niue Island. Okay. As a result of which I had mentioned in that data sheet itself. And all countries which are members of the United Nations may become members of WHO by accepting its constitution. Okay. And other countries may be admitted through a simple majority. Okay. And territories which are not responsible for the conduct of their international relations may be admitted as associated members. And as a result of which Cook's Island and Niue Island were part of WHO. And the main functions they address are human capital across life course, human development aspects regarding health, and non-communicable disease prevention, mental health promotion, climate change in small island developing states. This is quite peculiar. Climate change, it talks about evolution of zoonotic diseases, neglected tropical diseases, NTDs, which occur as a result of climate change, especially in small island developing states. Hence, it is found under the mandate of WHO. And antimicrobial resistance, elimination and eradication of high-impact communicable diseases. Fine, the WHO functions. And the World Health Assembly is the decision-making body of WHO. It is attended by delegations from all WHO member states. And the main functions are to determine the policies of the organization, appoint the Director General for a term of 5 years, supervise the financial policies, and review and approve the proposed program budget. And it is held annually. Okay. So all common facts only, but just a small recap to brush you with the information associated with World Health Organization. And the executive board, for which our health minister was the chairman, it was consist of 34 technically qualified members elected for a term of 3 years, which has its annual meeting held in January. The dates and months are not needed, but just it functions, it meets annually. And the main functions of the board are to implement the decision and policies of the Health Assembly. Again, it is more of an executive arm of a policy making body of WHO, which is the World Health Assembly. Okay. And the chairman post is held by rotation for 1 year among 6 regional groups. Again, the same. There were 5, and here we have 6 regional groups. And the chairman post is held by rotation for 1 year. The Director General is the Chief Technical and Administrative Officer overseeing the policy of the organizations and the international health work. Fine. WHO gets its funding from the 2 main sources. Member states paying their assessed contributions. That is, see, I had mentioned earlier, I was quite surprised by majority of the donation come from the voluntary manner, but here the assessed contribution is 20%, whereas the voluntary contributions amounts to 80%. Okay, Numbers are not needed, but just know which is major, which is less. Assessed contributions, they mean the percentage of a country's GDP, which is agreed by the UN General Assembly. Based on the GDP, agreed GDP of a country, the percentage is established for their contribution to World Health Organization. The member states approve them every 2 years of the World Health Assembly. That is the contribution part, which cover less than 20% of the total budget. And the remainder of WHO's financing, that is the 80% voluntary contribution, largely comes from member states as well as from UN organizations, intergovernmental organizations, private sector, and other sources. Okay, so 20% is the assessed, that is the fixed contribution from the member states, whereas the 80% comes from the voluntary aspects. And the World Health Organization's essential medicines list, okay, it's a small, these are hereafter the associated things with WHO would find its place here. It is, excuse me, it is revised every 2 years, which is a guide for countries on the core medicines that the health system needs. And next is regarding the infectious diseases, a small fact to be noted down. That is the smallpox is the only infectious disease to have been eradicated till now. Polio still exists in Pakistan and Afghanistan. Okay, a small fact. And later on 2020, there was a World Health Foundation which is legally separate from WHO, and it will facilitate contributions from the general public, because in WHO we had provisions only get contributions from the organizations or private sector philanthropic organizations, but here even the general public can give their donations. Hence WHO Foundation is formed, but it is legally separate from World Health Organization. Fine. Next comes the international health regulations. Okay, all WHO member states work together for the global health security, and the main function of IHR is that they have to agree to build their capacities to detect, assess, and report public health events, because in case of epidemics like this, the international health regulations takes the stage further and determines what has to be done to evade such epidemics or to minimize the damages. And IHR includes specific measures at ports, airports, and ground crossings to prevent the spread of epidemics. Next is the public health emergency of international concern. Guys, I'm just rushing up because I know I assume that you all are aware of these topics. Hence, I'm just giving you a brush up and proceeding with other topics. Okay, public health emergency, it is defined by the International Health Regulation, which is a standard protocol or a tag which has to be used in case of spreading diseases like that of we experience now. Public health emergency of international concern is to constitute a public health risk and to potentially require a coordinated international response. Okay, that is any serious health related event going on which requires global attention, it would be formalized with the launch of public health emergency of international concern. The responsibility of determining whether an event is within this category lies with the World Health Organization Director General. Okay, and also the reason for corona being publicized in a delayed manner is because of this particular loophole there. Okay, and temporary recommendations include health measures to be implemented by the state party which experience the public health emergency of international concern. The first PHEC, that is the international concern, was declared for 2009 H1N1 swine flu, next for polio, West African, Ebola outbreak, and Zika outbreak. The emergency committee also gives advice on the determination of the event as a public health emergency of international concerns. And the loophole I had mentioned earlier is that at least one member of the emergency committee should be an expert nominated by a state party within whose territory that event arises. That is, the emergency committee will consist of members, and in a member state where a particular disease has started to spread, they should be part of that committee. And if obviously the particular member state would not like to publicize that the event is taking place in their country, so obviously they'll get delayed. Using this loophole only, the launch, the declaration of corona spread was delayed. Okay, so that's it with respect to the WHO topics, I guess. Now there are a few more. Yes. COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund. It is by WHO to support the fundraising plan to fight the pandemic. Okay. And next is COVID Action Platform by World Economic Forum, aiming to convene the business community for collective action regarding COVID-19. Fast Track Financing by World Bank. It aims to support countries in their efforts to fight COVID-19. And Alliance for Multilateralism is an initiative by Germany and France. It's an informal network of countries to fight the COVID-19, and India too has participated in its virtual summit. So this could be noted down. Just of course, the mandates we can easily guess logically. So just make note of the name of the particular initiative and it is being done by which organization. Okay, a minute for you to copy it. COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund by WHO, COVID Action Platform by World Economic Forum, Fast Track Financing by World Bank, Alliance for Multilateralism by Germany and France. For Alliance for Multilateralism, members are not needed. Okay, just try to know that it is being initiated by Germany and France. Okay, so for hope you guys had copied. So for a small shift, we'll go for the analysis part of the questions, and then we'll come back here to W. Still, we have to complete World Trade Organization, IAEA, and then comes this tabular column. We'll review it, and then we'll go and we'll end the session today. Okay, so going to the analysis part. Okay, and I would like to start off with this question. Just a minute, guys. Okay. Yes, a favorite question. Okay, guys. So as I had mentioned earlier, we'll assume that we don't know anything about this particular question or the topic. Okay, but how to go about it and see the beauty of UPSC has framed its question. Okay, they too can understand what could be done and what could not be done. Okay, from the aspirant side, they don't expect us to be just machines studying, mugging up everything and then reproducing it. No, the post itself has been designed to act independently, at least theoretically, and to act with the decision making skills and how well you proceed. So similarly, the examination that recruit for that post will not expect you to just be machines reading everything and writing there, but they want you to apply your logic. They want to test your mental caliber, your intelligence. Okay, now see, most of the candidates, the moment they see their convention, their subconscious mind will tell that this question is not our cup of tea and we have not known anything about it, so we should probably skip it. Fine, but just read it. The United Nations Convention Against Corruption as a protocol against the smuggling of migrants by land, sea and air. Okay, now the moment you see the question, don't go for the options, just read the statements and try to underline the theme mentioned in each point. with respect to this United Nations Convention against corruption. Okay, this I can understand. There is a convention that talks about corruption, and here it has a protocol against the smuggling of migrants by land, sea, and air. Okay, that's it. I underline. Move forward. Do I know anything about this? I don't know. With great optimism, I try to proceed to the next statement with with an expectation that it will be known to me. UNCAC is the ever first legally binding global anti-corruption instrument. Again, do I have a definite answer to this statement? No. So again, with optimism, I underline the main theme and proceed to the next statement. A highlight of the United Nations Convention against Transnational Organized Crime is, here the theme is transnational organized crime, is the inclusion of a specific chapter aimed at returning assets to their rightful owners from whom they had been taken illicitly. Okay. So, do I know anything? Definitely not. So, again, I proceed to, after underlining the theme, important themes mentioned in the statement, I proceed to the next. United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime is mandated by its member states to assist in the implementation of both UNCAC and UNTOC. Here the theme is, okay. And do I have any statement to proceed? Definitely not. I am stuck here, but it is the crucial point where most aspirants lose their confidence and lose their interest and move to the next question. But just if you observe carefully, if you concentrate, if you have the if you are calm and have your logics right, just see some peculiar it is very strange, no? Here it talks about convention against corruption, but they have a protocol against the smuggling of migrants by land, sea, and air. But here they talk about transnational organized crimes, and they talk about a provision that deals with returning assets to their rightful owners from whom they have been taken illicitly. Okay. If you can interrelate both of this, actually the board has interchanged the statements between these two themes. That is, the protocol against smuggling of migrants by land, sea, and air is originally part of UNTOC, transnational organized crime, smuggling, matched. Returning assets to their rightful owners from whom it has been taken originally belongs to United Nations Convention against Corruption. Okay. So for this to analyze, it is possible to all, provided you are calm and you maintain your logic well. So from this itself, you can easily arrive at the logic. You can know that 1 and 3 are wrong. Okay. If you know 1 and 3 are wrong, you can easily eliminate all 3 options, ending up with option C. Okay. You don't have to know whether UNCAC is the first ever legally binding anti-corruption instrument, or the UNODC is mandated by its member states to assist in the implementation of both UNCAC and UNTOC. No need. What is bothering you to know that? Only if you can find the wrong statements and comfortably eliminate 3 options, you find the right answer and you move on. Okay. Fine. So the moment you see any unknown question, don't lose your confidence. Try to read it 1 or 2 times. That small loop would be there in the question for sure, because that is the beauty of our examination. So that loop would be there for sure. But for that, you should be very calm. You should not lose your optimism. Always, Shankar sir used to say, always attempt your questions. Attempt your question paper with right degree of optimism. Irrespective of your work, irrespective of your hard work, preparation, revision, at that moment you need to be present with optimism. Then only you will be able to go further. Fine. So always proceed, try to eliminate the statements and comfortably arrive at the right answer. This logic applies to the entire prelims paper. It depends only upon your confidence and how you go about in that period of two hours. Fine. So let's proceed to the okay. What is our 2018 consequences of a country becoming a member of NSG? See the first statement, it will have access to latest and most efficient nuclear technologies. It automatically becomes a member of Treaty on NPT. It should be the reverse, right? Okay. NPT, you become an NPT member and then become NSG member. Only for India, we have a special waiver. So this is false. Okay. So you can easily eliminate 2 and both 1 and 2, and you have to determine between A and D. See, read the statement. It will have access to latest and most efficient nuclear technologies. This seems to be a general statement that doesn't stress specifically on any provision. Okay. And these are mostly true in most of the cases. And it is true in this case as well. So the right answer is option A. By NSG, NSG is basically a group which ensures peaceful use of nuclear energy through latest technical advancements, and a member country, particularly in NSG, will tend to get access to the inventions, technical advancements of other member states also. Okay, so that is why India was stressing so much on being part of NSG. It will help you to promote your civilian nuclear business by getting the technical aid from other countries in the lot. Okay, so next, additional protocol, International Atomic Energy Agency. Again, it's an easy question. Read, you can easily eliminate C and D. Okay, becomes a member of NSG and privileged to buy uranium from NSG, completely illogical. But here, civilian nuclear reactors come under the IAEA safeguards. Military nuclear installation come under the inspection of IAEA. They put India in its place, in this place, and try to guess whether will India allow its military nuclear installations to come under the inspection of International Atomic Energy Agency? Definitely not. Only the civilian nuclear reactors come under the safeguards, and that's option A. 2019, recently signed a deal known as Action Plan for Prioritization. Again, it was in 2018, few months back only, this current affairs was in the news. So it was a direct answer. That is option B, Russia. Okay. So here the logics could not be mostly applied. Why? Because all three countries are somewhere related nuclear in respect to nuclear business with India. So we can guess anything. But since it was a direct news from the current affairs, which was in news only recently during the examination, it was taken up. Reports, Rule of Law Index, a direct question, World Justice Project. And which one of the following is not a sub-index of the World Bank? Again, maintenance of law and order. Just read the statement itself. The moment you see the statement itself, your intuition would say that something strange happens with that particular statement. You can easily arrive at the answer. Okay. So UN related again, 138 and 182, it is regarding child labor. It is only the only convention that has gained universal ratification. Okay, 138, 182. Again, there are 6 conventions. 8 conventions of ILO, and India has ratified all the 6 out of 8. There is one question. Even if it is not specific, can we go green for generic statements? Can we go green for generic statements? In most of the cases, they tend to be true. But again, in sweeping general statements, you can't take a yes for that. Okay. That needs to be understood with the mandate or with the nature of the question, and it also varies case by case, subject by subject. Okay, because general statements in economics, they tend to be very complicated. Okay, they tend to play with words, and you cannot follow the same thing there. But with respect to IR and IO, we can go for this. And maintenance of law and order would logically be required for ease of doing business. So that was a question, but I'll explain. See here, which one of the following is not a sub-index? So the question wants you to find an option which is not a sub-index. Okay. So from these 4 options, you have to eliminate one. Okay. Of course, I accept. Maintenance of law and order, political stability, economic stability, everything is needed for a businessman to carry out his or her business. That's true. But here, these three happen to have higher priority than maintenance of law and order when it comes to ease of doing business. Okay, dealing with construction permits, registration property, paying taxes have higher priority than maintenance of law and order. In that degree of precedence, I take these three to be the part of ease of doing business, and I'm eliminating this maintenance of law and order. That's why I'm going for that. Okay. Hypothetically, UPSC, the problem is you don't have the liberty to question during the exam, all right? You can't ask them the questions back, but there go for your common sense. That's it. Okay. Here, the question wants you to eliminate one option for sure. Based on your common sense, with the degree of precedence given in the options, you can easily eliminate maintenance of law and order. Okay. Hope it's clear. But going by intuition will also be wrong sometimes, since few answers will be something we won't think at all. True, but see, that is where you need to note down the exceptional facts which are associated with your preparation. You, while preparing itself, whenever you come across a fact, maintain a small note and make note of it. It will easily come it will come about 50 to 60 facts, but these facts will be very crucial for you to answer the questions. Okay. And apart from that, your intuition, the moment you see a question, will help you, provided your preparation is up to the mark of everyone. I'm not saying you have to prepare everything, but whatever aspirants prepare in general, that has to be prepared by you also, so that your intuition works well. Fine. So let's proceed next. Yes, this will be covered. Yes, a two-state solution. Easy, Israel-Palestine. But again, say for the example, in two-state solution, we have two-nation theory. We have one country, two system, two-state solution. These are the exceptions which you have to note down. Okay. So I had mentioned everything in the previous slides also, so no need to panic. But here the two-state solution is Israel. So whenever you come across any exceptional or any confusing things, especially with respect to IR and IO, as I had mentioned earlier, exceptional things are most confusing, and if you had noted down, then you could easily move past those questions. For example, I'm now remembering the difference in words. The Marrakesh Treaty, Marrakesh Agreement, Marrakesh Accord all starts with the same place, but it has resulted into three different organizations. Okay, UNFCCC, WIPO, and World Trade Organizations. In all these cases, you need to be very careful so that you don't make that minor mistakes. Why? Because to most of the candidates, there are two categories. The candidates losing marks because of their lack of confidence and optimism, and the other category, candidates making minor mistakes and losing their place into mains examination. So both has to be avoided. So noting down these minor facts will help you to avoid such mistakes. Very recently, in which of the following countries, lakhs of people have either suffered from severe famine, malnutrition, war, and ethnic. Here they have given two conditions, and the country or the states which fall under two categories are option D, that is the Yemen and South Sudan. Again, it was a direct news in that was it was a direct news found only before the examination, so hence it was there. Again, for general data protection and regulation, everyone knows it, European Union. Institutions, here free trade partners. Okay, we know there is no Canada. Fine. US is also not there. So which are the free trade partners? 1, 3, 4, and 5. Option C. So this is where you need to know the members of organization like Comprehensive Trans-Pacific Partnership, Eurasian Economic Union, Eurasian Group, and next is the Indian Ocean Rim Association, that is the regional association, Indian Ocean Naval Symposium, SCO, These are the organizations for which you please remember the members so that it comes handy while attending the questions there. I have included it in the later slides also, so no need to worry. We'll be going through that tomorrow. India enacted the geographical indication of goods in compliance with the obligations to WTO TRIPS. Okay. Again, here you can easily eliminate these two, but you will have a difference of opinion between these two. UPSC also knows where a candidate is likely to make a mistake, and they'll keep that loophole only there in the question. So you please be careful with those loopholes so that you don't fall prey to their tricks. Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, again it is one good question that could be solved through logic. India is the largest shareholder. No, it is not so. Okay. And when it comes to bank, please try to know about the locations and the contributors pattern with respect to New Development Bank. New Development Bank of BRICS through Fortaleza Declaration. It has common equal partnership between the 5 countries. Next, there is Asian Development Bank, and NDB is located in Shanghai, because there was a question previously talking about the locations of these banks. And New Development Bank is located in Shanghai, whereas the Asian Development Bank, its headquarters is in Philippines. And in ADB, Japan and USA happens to be the top 2 contributors. Whereas with respect to Asian Infrastructure and Investment Bank, it is China which is the largest shareholder in the bank. So you can easily eliminate 2. Okay, this is a common fact known to most. So going by that, you can easily eliminate option B and D. So you have to take a call between A and 3. And from this, it is true. It is known that one should be right. That is, AIIB has more than 80 member nations. But come to the third statement, AIIB does not have any members from outside Asia. For this, you need to know the mandate of Asian Infrastructure and Investment Bank. Their main mandate is to carry on development aspects with respect to the Asian region, as well as they could contribute to the developments in other areas as well. So there is no need that a particular country is objected or is barred from entering into the economic organization like AIIB. Okay, so it definitely has members from outside Asia too. Okay, so the right answer is option A only. AIIB has more than 80 member nations. The moment you read the first statement, you lose your confidence, you will not proceed further. But you read the second statement, and from your residual memory, you come to know that China is the largest shareholder. You can easily eliminate B and D. And from remaining A and C, you come to know that one is a definitely true statement. And then you need to apply your logic only to find 3, the authenticity of the third statement alone. So it is only attempting in parts, that each question break it into parts, and with minimum logic and optimism proceed further and try to answer the questions. Okay. True. It is also a good logic given by one of the candidates. If there are more than 80 members outside Asia, if there are more than 80 members outside Asia also would be present. See, the moment you ask questions to yourself, you will easily come across the logical part and can easily answer the questions. But that answering and that calmness should be maintained in a span of 2 hours in the real examination. That is the most challenging part. So that is why don't stress too much. Okay, prepare gradually and excel well. That's it. And that's a good logic also. How many questions can we expect in IR organizational topic in prelims? That is that is very difficult to be answered. Why? Because from the question bank which we have starting from 2015-16, from 15-16 there are 15 to 20 questions each. Whereas from 17-18-19 there was a fall in the number of questions. In 19 it was the least, and again in 20 the number of questions has increased. So we can't come up with the exact numbers, but also with the changing combination of subjects, that is IO plus environment, IO plus geography. So it has mostly become like it will be associated with most of the answers. So just prepare basically. okay, which will help you to answer the questions. Okay, so we have answered that, and we also go with the 2015 questions also, we'll see. Or I believe we have 10 to 15 minutes more, so we shall probably complete it, and if we have time, we'll proceed with the other questions also. Okay. So World Trade Organizations. Okay. Now it is in news because of the interim arrangement which has been in place due to blocking of judges by US. Okay. As a result of which it is in news. And also in 2020, WTO has marked its 25th anniversary. Fine. So it is there in our content. See, from 1948 to 1994, the General Agreement of Tariff and Trades was the was the main agreement that talked about trade in goods. But now it has been replaced by World Trade Organization from 1995, okay, which deals with trade in services, intellectual properties, whereas the previous GATT dealt mainly with trade in goods alone, okay. And here I had mentioned here, as I had mentioned earlier, Marrakesh Agreement led to the creation of WTO, whereas the accord, that is the Marrakesh Accord, led to the framing the Convention on Climate Change, and the Marrakesh Treaty led to World Intellectual Property Organization. So this is what I was mentioning earlier. We may not notice these things while preparing, okay, but when we do our homeworks and when we prepare our own notes, we tend to identify these matters which could be noted on, and it will help us really while answering the questions, okay. And WTO is not a UN specialized agency, and most of you are seeing the tables in our books will think that WTO is it is World Tourism Organization and not Trade Organization. It is not a member of ECOSOC also, and its main function is to deal with the rules of trade between between the nation states. And here a small clarification of difference between UN CTAD and WTO. It is more a UN body formed to increase trade and development, that is to ensure that benefits of globalization reach the developing nations. That is the object of UNCTAD. Okay, so just a small clarification. The WTO's overriding objective, that is the functions, it is to administer world trade agreements, conduct negotiations, handle disputes, monitor trade policies, provide technical assistance, and cooperate with other international organizations. And decisions in the WTO are generally taken by consensus. Okay, that is a main thing to be noted on. WTO is purely a consensus-based body. All member states gather, take decisions mutually, and that is what is being implemented by the executive arm. And the General Council, the highest institutional body is the Ministerial Conference, which meets roughly every 2 years, biennial. And the General Council conducts the organization's business in the intervals between the Ministerial Council, because 2 years once there should be an executive council which should conduct or decide upon the future agenda of WTO, and that is the objective of General Council. Both of these bodies comprise all members, and there are specialized subsidiary bodies, councils, committees, just like how the subsidiary organs of UN function. They monitor the implementation by members of the various World Trade WTO agreements. Okay, and the same General Council meets under different rules as the dispute settlement body to negotiate the trade disputes, as well as trade policy review body that reviews the national trade policies of a member state. The appellate body is a standing body of 7 persons that urge the appeals, which can uphold, modify, or reverse the legal findings. Okay, so it must be accepted by the parties to the dispute. It is binding on the parties to the dispute. Again, regarding disputes, please prepare extensively on the differences between International Court of Justice, International Criminal Court, and Permanent Court of Arbitration. The ICJ cannot go in for individuals. They cannot take into action individual crimes on genocide, war crimes. It is all coming under the International Criminal Court. Previous slide, please. Okay. Oh, if anyone haven't noted down, please note it. Next slide. Just a minute, guys. Next. Okay, what did you ask us to read about? Prepare extensively on differences between International Court of Justice, International Criminal Court, and Permanent Court of Arbitration. Okay, so International Criminal Court, the recent war crimes or recent genocide events could be related to International Criminal Court. ICJ, always associated with the UN organization, so it is of prime importance. Permanent Court of Arbitration is because of our India-Kane dispute, okay, that economic dispute, and also the Italian mariners case. All this happens to be prominent with respect to PCA. So just please, please prepare on the differences between these organizations, how these organization differs. Say, for example, what are the crimes that could come under the mandate of ICJ, ICC, and how the functioning varies between these three. Okay, so just prepare these information that will help you to know the differences. Fine. So next. Yes, this is covered. Will be accepted. Yes. And WTO derives most of its income from its contributions according to a formula based on their share of international trade. Now, can you see most of the countries tend to downplay their trade values? That is because of these contributions. Let it be the LDC status or their WTO contribution, UN budgetary contributions, all will shoot up if they show their original values. And the Director General of WTO is chosen by the member states through consensus for a term of 4 years. And there are observers at WTO also: Iran, Iraq, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Bhutan, and few African nations. Why I haven't mentioned few African nations is that if any African nation is there, you can easily guess. Of course, South Africa will be a member of WTO, assuming its economic and political stability, whereas other unstable countries like other African nations could easily be guessed logically that they are observers at WTO. Other than that, please make a note of these 5 countries which are peculiar, especially Bhutan. They are an observer. Iran, Iraq, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. Okay, guys, so let's proceed. And the Council for TRIPS, that is a specific council that deals with TRIPS agreement, and it is a forum for discussion between members on key issues regarding the TRIPS setup. Again, the GI, geographical identification tag, under TRIPS agreement is covered by WTO. A small clarification again. Okay, International Atomic Energy Agency, our last topic for the day. And successively there are being questions in IAEA, so still, but we can't ignore it, okay, because the non-proliferation treaty is completing 50 years, so it should be of great importance. Okay, the IAEA is the world's central intergovernmental forum for scientific and technical cooperation in the nuclear field. It works for safe, secure, and peaceful uses of nuclear science and technology. It is an autonomous international organization. Okay, why autonomous is mentioned here is that it has its own functioning, it has its own decision making authority, though it reports to UN General Assembly and UN Security Council, but it doesn't work under the influence of any other organization. It has its own set of protocols, it has its own set of verification mechanisms, so it is an autonomous organization. And the Director General is a member of United Nations Chief Executive Board, who participates regularly in the meetings chaired by the Secretary General. For few of the boards, I wouldn't have mentioned how they are elected or how they are appointed, which means that it is not of much significance. They could have been appointed. So that is why I am not mentioning it briefly. Okay. The statute of IAEA was at the conference on the statute of International Atomic Energy Agency, which came into force in 1957. And the agency was set up as the world's Atom for Peace organization, okay, to promote safe, secure, and peaceful nuclear technologies. In short words, to promote and control the atom for peaceful purposes. The agency's policy making bodies, they comprise the General Conference of all member states and 35 member board of governors. And to be precise, India is a board member for 2019-20 and 2022-21. Okay. I had searched for the tenure, that is when it starts and when it ends. It is not given in their official web page, so I am not mentioning it here. But just remember that India is a board member of IAEA. Okay, it convenes annually at the IAEA headquarters in Vienna, and the board meets 5 times per year. Numbers are not needed, but just have an idea, a rough idea of when the meeting takes place. And the board examines and makes recommendations to the General Conference on IAEA's financial statements, programs, and budget. It considers application for membership, approves safeguard agreements, and publication of the safety standards. It also approves the DG of IAEA with the approval of the General Conference, which means the General Conference, they discuss, they take up the candidature and they approve it. Later, he or she is being appointed as the DG. Okay, the Board of Governors are elected by the General Conference. Fine. So, next is the source of funding. Regular budget fund, technical cooperation fund, extra budgetary program funds which are donated, and the contributions to the extra budgetary funds and technical cooperation funds are voluntary. And again, the 35 board of governors who are in position right now, okay, for this year, I have just mentioned the organization, and I have underlined or highlighted the countries which are quite surprising. That's why I have mentioned it. Okay, no need to memorize everything, but just have a glance. Brazil, China, India from BRICS. Next, there is France, UK, USA from P5. And next, there is Kuwait. The surprising countries are Mongolia, especially because they follow a policy of a positive neutrality, which means they won't engage openly with all countries. They'll maintain a distance with international relations as such. But in spite of that, Mongolia is a board of governor under International Atomic Energy Agency. NZ refers to New Zealand. Then Malaysia, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Ghana, being an African country, but still a board of governor under the IAEA. That's why I've underlined it. Others are common. Why is Saudi surprising is that because to my concerns, I thought it to be more of oriented with oil development and oil, etc. But of late, they have shown with their vision to 2030, they are trying to enter into new areas, new organizations with respect to international relations. Hence, I had underlined it. Okay, it's purely my personal concerns. That's it. Nothing specific. And also, to be when you come tomorrow, please try to know the countries or make note of countries like F5, the fragile 5 countries, permanent 5, and G7, group of 7. So please make a note of these organizations because say for example, when an organization like G20 is in picture, trying to remember everything individually will elongate or will elaborate our efforts. Rather, try to make it in a bubble, that is, group them together and try to remember as sub-organizations. Say for example, G20 is made of members from Fragile 5, Permanent 5, G7, and then from ASEAN, and the only leftover countries which do not fall into a bubble are I think Korea, Australia, Korea, and Argentina, Mexico, Saudi, Australia and Korea, I guess. Okay, Argentina, Mexico, Saudi, I'm very sure. Other two, it is Australia and South Korea. Okay, so a complex organization like G20 with more members could easily be remembered if it is broken down. I mean, if it is broken down into sub organizations using a bubble like this. So that is what I had mentioned earlier, IO bubble. Turkey, Brazil, India, South Africa, and Indonesia. Why are they fragile? They are fragile in terms of their dependence on developed economies. Okay, so whatever changes or actions are taken place in the economies of developed countries, say for example the US Fed rates, that will independently affect the economies of these developing countries. Hence, these five are clubbed under the category of fragile five economies. Okay, so F5, P5, G7, please make a note of it tomorrow and we shall see it. And yes, the last slide of the day. Hope it is clear. Is it visible, guys? Any answers? No? Okay, fine. Then I have to close it. Okay, where we are stopping, cyclone. So tomorrow we'll begin with cyclone naming. I have a separate document, so I shall just a minute, guys. Just a minute. Okay, is it visible now? Okay. Just a minute, guys. The screen will be shared now. Just a second. என்னால எழுத முடியுமா ஸ்கிரீன் ஷேர் பண்ணா? ஓகே, just a second, guys. Oh, screen cannot. Okay, guys, sorry, the screen cannot be shared. Please share the PDF in Telegram. Okay, definitely I'll share it. And okay, fine. Now what I wanted to say is that make a note of the specialized agencies. So once I zoom, okay, so make a note of specialized agencies. Okay, you can easily club it. Say for example, where is it? Yes. Okay, ICAO, Civil Aviation Organization, IMO, and we have IMF, and we have ILO. This comes under one category of specialized agencies. Then we have World Bank, World Tourism Organization, World Meteorological Organization, World Intellectual Property Organization. Okay, this comes under one category. Also World Health Organization. Okay, and next we have when it comes to food, it is FAO, an International Fund for Agriculture Development. Here there is separately World Food Program, which is completely different. It doesn't fall under the specialized agency of UN. And then we have UN, International Development or Industrial Development Organization, and UPU, and that is the Postals Union. The Postals Union is a specific body for cooperation among the postal service players. Okay, it sets the rules for international mail exchanges, etc. And we also have International Telecommunication Union. Hope I haven't missed anything. Okay, yes, UNESCO. So just make a note of this while reading itself. Try to evolve your own way of remembering it. Okay, this could be dubbed with starting at W. Your I, it deals with food and it deals with UN parts, and here it is two technical organizations. So like this, try to club organizations together when you read it. By this, we have completed what are the specialized agencies of UN. Okay, again, see these related organizations. Okay, all these organizations report both to General Assembly as well as the Security Council. Okay, the Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, World Trade Organization, IAEA, etc. Again, we can go for other organizations, like see this United Nations Office on Nairobi and Vienna, and again there is a Secretariat for Office for Disarmament Affairs, and then next there is a separate commission, functional commission for status of women, and there is subsidiary bodies like counter-terrorism organizations, Yugoslavia, and subsidiary bodies, Human Rights Councils, Disarmament Commission. Okay, so just make this will be shared with you in Telegram. So this table, this entire table gives you an idea of how the organization functions. From the name, you could easily guess or arrive at the mandate of the organization. And from the arrows on how the body function, you could easily identify to whom does that organization represent and how its structure functions. Okay, so this will be shared with you. I don't think so this is available in Google. Okay, so thank you for this term of organogram. Okay, so yes, sharing your mail ID. Okay, I shall be sharing it tomorrow. Fine. So today we shall complete this session here, and this particular image would be mailed to you. Don't worry. Okay, so I mean would be shared with you through Telegram. So we shall end our session here. Hope it was useful and something you can learn from it. So tomorrow session we'll solve the questions completely. We'll have a run through and then we'll cover the remaining topics, and I'll be giving you the members of organization also. Okay, so stay safe guys, prepare well, all the best. See you tomorrow.